Well, good morning, everybody. So I'm having a little Mercury retrograde fun this morning in that Be Live that I usually use decided it wasn't going to work. And so here I am now live actually on Facebook Live. And I am not sure that I'm going to be able to see people's comments. I have this nice little thing over here. I'm just going to write good morning to everyone in it. And let's see if I can see comments back. I'm not sure I can, but I'm not also sure that I can't. So, wow, what fun, right? It was funny because everything was working fine in Be Live until I hit the button that says Start Broadcast. And then all of a sudden it says, we're sorry, there's a problem. Consult the logs. Logs. I don't even know what the freak they're talking about. So I guess what we do is we just go with the flow. That is what Mercury retrograde teaches us all the time, right? Every time. Good morning, Natasha. I see that you've joined the broadcast. I didn't know that people were going to have to do that, but it's okay because it's totally out of my control here this morning. Totally out of my control. So if you are all out there and you can see that I'm here, join the live broadcast. I do believe the video, when we're done, will park itself right on the Living Astrology page. So you should be able to get back in here and watch the video. So I'm really sorry. There isn't much I can do about it though this morning. So sit back and grab your coffee. Let's talk about the day in astrology. And today I want to focus a little bit on Mercury retrograde because it is sitting in a very interesting place for us during this time. And apparently it's going to still create havoc for me in my in my ability to broadcast live. But we'll see what's going on with all of this later on when I get a chance. There's Mimi, good morning. Veva, good morning. So I see people are finding me, and this is a good thing, right? That people will find me. Anyway, so let's dig in this morning and see what the day is going to bring. And this is so much fun. This is kind of different in that I can see, like when people react, like and say, good morning, Marlene. It's telling me, it says this little banner, it says Marlene Stone joined, Veva Lupa Kite joined, I'm sorry, Veva, I know I just butchered your last name. And so it's kind of nice to see that. Let's, I can't see comments yet. It says 2 comments. What is that? Here come the comments. Yes. Awesome. Okay. So maybe I don't need Be Live after all. We'll just do Facebook Live. Ooh, I don't want to say that. So here we are today in the shadow of both a Mercury retrograde and a powerful lunar eclipse that's stacking up the transits for us even before we get to the actual eclipse. And I just wanted to let you know I'm going to be out of town on Thursday and Friday. I'm going off to the east side of the Cascade Mountains to visit with my sister and going with my daughter and grand girls. All the grand girls are going. And we're going to hang out over there and swim and hang out with that sister. So she's refreshed the page while sticking out my tongue at Mercury. I absolutely love that, Mimi. That's awesome. So anyway, I'll be gone Thursday and Friday, so I'm going to be packing a bit of information in through today and tomorrow, including maybe what might be up for the weekend. So I just want to let you all know that. Also, reminder, tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. East Coast time, I will be on Blog Talk Radio with Angel Heart Radio's Annette McCoy for our monthly get-together to talk about astrology. And in that broadcast, I will be going deeply into the lunar eclipse. But this is also your time to get a free mini reading about what's going on in your personal chart. And all you have to do is join in by phone. I'm going to see if I can write a comment here. And yes, I can. And I'm putting up the phone number for you to call in. Did it show up? Well, I hope it showed up. Oh, yes, it did. Okay. So that phone number that I've just put up, it helps if you scroll the page a bit, is the phone number where you can call into the radio show between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific or 8 and 9 p.m. East Coast time to get a mini reading about where the Mercury retrograde is occurring in your chart and where the lunar eclipse will be occurring in your chart and how it affects you. I hope you guys will call in, because sometimes I think people, forget that that's part of what I do on that show. And that's what makes it fun for me, is to be able to do readings for everybody. So let's take a look at what our moon is up to today. Remember, we are in a void of course moon until 2:50 p.m. my time, or let's see, that would be 5:50 p.m. East Coast time. So void of course moon means that we are just going with the flow today, right? We're not going to try to do anything. We are not going to make big decisions. We're not going to push the river or force anything to happen, because during the void of course moon, anything that we do push ourselves into ends up not working out the way we planned. And sometimes it just doesn't work out at all, or it blows up in our faces. So we kind of take the down low on a void of course moon, and today's that day. We start out today, we started at 1:23 a.m. this morning with the moon in a trine to Mercury. And this is about the mind with Mercury and the feelings, emotions with the moon. So we get the mind and the feelings together, and what we see is a prelude to the Mercury retrograde time period. And that is, when the moon is in a trine, it is a smooth flow, if you will think of it that way, of the energy. So we have a smooth flow between the mind and the emotions. And situations that come up now may have really startling clarity about what you really feel about them, or in the worst case scenario, your emotions override your mind, or the mind overrides your emotions, and you end up in a quandary about what to do. Hopefully this energy brings your head and your heart into balance and into a sort of smooth flow. But my guess is it may not be quite that easy, because Mercury retrograde will sit for an extended period of time at this particular degree in Capricorn, or Sagittarius, not the moon, Mercury in Leo. And it will create some havoc for us. And we're going to go into that in just a little bit when we talk about the human design gate, or the gene key that Mercury will be sitting at for its retrograde. Also today we have the planet Venus in an opposition to Neptune. I think we talked a bit about this yesterday, and I really like it when this happens, right? Venus is everything about the more physical love that we experience here on the planet. It's not so much even sexual love as it is, although there is a component of that at times, but it's more about the love we feel for our children, for our family, for our loved, our spouses or our significant others. And then Neptune is all about the higher unconditional love that we feel. And so when we have these two in opposition, we really find ourselves emotionally connected at both ends, both physically and spiritually, with the energy of love. And I know sometimes that can make it hard to focus. It can make, anytime we're dealing with Neptune, it clouds up things and mucks them up a bit. But for the most part, we're talking about energy that can really elevate our hearts and see things from a higher perspective, from the place of spirit, as opposed to the place of the more physical world. So here's another indication, though, of where decision-making can be blocked, or somehow it can be very unclear as to what decisions to make. So don't make decisions today. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Especially if they're big decisions, you can hold off another day. Remember, in human design, we talk about the solar plexus, and the solar plexus being the seat of the emotions. And let me see if I can find a human design chart really quickly. I can. Here is one right here. And I have a bigger space to play with here. So here's the solar plexus. It is the seat of the emotions. So if you have yours white like this, it means that you're open in the emotional center. That means you're absorbing emotional energy. You are what we call an empath. If you have this defined, you are doing the opposite. You are broadcasting emotion, and other people are picking up that emotion and broadcasting it if they are open. So when you are open in your broadcasting emotion, sometimes it isn't your own emotion. In fact, most times it is not. And when you are defined emotionally, you're broadcasting your own true emotions. But emotion is, it's an energy, it's a motor in human design. And the motor energy here has a flow to it. And the flow is in waves. And waves have a high and waves have a low. If you've ever sat on the beach at the ocean, you know exactly what I mean. You see the wave beginning to build and it comes to a crest and it breaks and then it goes back down and we're waiting for the next rise and crest and fall. And that's what emotional energy is. It is the rising and falling of the energy of feelings, of emotions. And therein lies the problem, right? Because emotional energy isn't static. It's very difficult to get a read on what the emotional energy is in any moment because you don't know exactly where you are in that wave. So the wisdom in the solar plexus is that you never make decisions spontaneously, right? You never make it in the moment and you wait for clarity. So this is a great time to learn the lesson of that. Right now, we can't make really good decisions anyway. Venus opposing Neptune. Neptune is playing a prominent role out there, messing things up. We have Mercury retrograde that slows things down with our minds. Our minds can't even be clear enough to tell us what to do. We have a lunar eclipse coming, and right now we're void of course. So big decisions, put it yourself in a holding pattern until you have some real clarity about what is happening with your feelings. How do you really feel? When you are trying to make a big decision and the emotional energy isn't clear, then you can find yourself leaping into things, doing things that aren't correct for you. Now, if you have an open emotional center, it's a different story, right? You can be more spontaneous. You still have to follow your authority, whatever that is in your chart, whether it's your intuition that's speaking to you or whether it is your sacral energy or your will energy. You're still having to follow your authority, whatever it is, and your type and your strategy have a big part to play in that. But you are somewhat easier or your emotions are somewhat easier to deal with. All you have to do is be sure that you're not tapping into somebody else's feelings. Let's see who's out here now and what is going on. Michelle Brooks, good morning to you too. Looks like I had a great trip. I did. I had a really good trip, but I'm not getting into it because yesterday when I started talking about it, I got all teary-eyed. Suzanne is back here too. Good to see you. Live video went off. Oh, poo. Good morning, Cindy. And let's see, Londa, good morning. I'll try to be there. Try to be where, I'm not sure. Asa, Libra Dreams, namaste, beautiful beings. I love that. That's awesome. Good morning to you. For those of you who've just joined us in the last couple of moments, you may notice I'm in a different way this morning because Be Live conked out on me. I don't know what the heck happened, but also my normal astrology program conked out on me this morning too. So I have a different chart that I'm using, and that was kind of fun having to, really quickly learn how to read something different. Anyway, what I was going to say is for those of you who have just recently joined, I've put a phone number in the dialogue that is to the Angel Heart Radio program. I will be on at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. East Coast time today. And I will be talking in depth about the lunar eclipse and Mercury retrograde. But more fun than that, I will be doing mini readings, many readings if I can. And I invite you all to call that number to get a mini reading if you would like, and take a look at your own personal chart as to what is happening in terms of the eclipse and Mercury's retrograde. All righty. So let's see, where was I going to go from here? There is one last moon transit for the day, but it doesn't occur until really late tonight. Most of us, I dare say, will be in bed at the point this happens, but because it'll kind of flow over a little bit into tomorrow, it's worth mentioning that the moon will be conjunct Saturn in Capricorn when we wake up in the morning. And that is a day where, the emotional energy gets a little bit serious, where we start to feel like maybe we're a little bit depressed or sad, something, or something's happened or something's gonna happen, or any number of weird things emotionally happen when the moon conjunct Saturn. Things get a little serious. And so I just want to let people know, don't take yourself too seriously. Don't take that energy too seriously. This too shall pass. The moon moves rather quickly. So before lunchtime tomorrow, all will be good again. And if you take yourself too seriously and start your day that way, it can put a damper on your whole day. So don't let that happen. Try not to be one of those people that's a Debbie Downer in the morning. Don't really connect with that so much as you just allow that energy to flow through you. So that will end basically our moon in Sagittarius and our void of course moon in favor of the moon moving into Capricorn. So things get a little bit more, I want to use the word serious, but that's not exactly what I want to say about it, because the moon in Capricorn allows us the freedom, if you will, to take our goals in hand, to take our aspirations and actually make movement to something. And, this is happening on the same day, of course, that Mercury is turning retrograde. So it'll be interesting to see what opens up for us during this period of time, as well as what kind of gets stopped up for us. And so, the way to greet all of this is to just go with the flow. There isn't, remember when I was doing the opening to the summer solstice, and the chart for the summer solstice, none of the inner planets were being affected, and it was all the outer planets being affected. And what I told you that meant was that there were going to be a lot of things that were just out of our control for the summer, for the whole season, right? There were some things that we would just have to deal with as they came up because the personal planets weren't involved. And that's still holding sway, right? We're still dealing with the energy of that solstice. And so a lot of things that are happening in the outer world, a lot of things that are maybe even happening in your own life are completely and utterly out of your control. So if you just relax and just go with the flow, you're going to find yourself in a better place than when you are trying to hold on to some idea of how things should go or how things should be or how other people should behave. And just relax and just sit back, enjoy the ride, right? This morning, I had to do that. I couldn't control what was happening with both my astrology program and with my Be Live. I just had to go with the flow. There's always an alternate that will open up for you. But sometimes you can't see it, right? Sometimes if you are so caught up in what you think should be happening, then you miss the openings. You miss the openings. And maybe this has just saved me $25 a month because I can see now that this is kind of a fun way to do this every morning. Let's see who else is out here that I can talk to. Mary, Tapping Mascal, good morning to you. And thank you for joining us this morning. Laura Pask Hammer, good morning. Glad you're back. Seldom able to watch live. I usually watch in the evenings. Well, I'm really glad you were able to join us this morning. And that's awesome. Asa Libra Dreams, I will call. Thank you. Awesome. If you want to, Asa, send me your birth information, and that means day, time, and place. And I'll have a chart ready for you. Wendy Garza, good morning to you. And let's go on to what Mercury retrograde is bringing to us through the gene keys and through human design. So whenever a planet turns retrograde, it slows down. First of all, it's slowing down. So even today, Mercury is already sitting at the degree it is going to turn retrograde at. We call this stationary. It just sort of sits here for a moment. And then when it moves retrograde, which is tomorrow, it starts its backwards motion, right? Backwards. It's not really moving backwards. It just appears to be moving backwards as the Earth has sped up and passed the planet. And so from our perspective here on Earth, it looks like Mercury's doing this backward motion. It isn't. But for us, in terms of how we deal with it, it means that for us, the mind slows down. Anything to deal with Mercury, the mind, communication, transportation slows down. And if we keep ourselves going at the same pace, speedy, we're going to find ourselves in accidents. Perhaps we're going to forget important things. We're going to say things that we don't mean. So we have to really be careful during a Mercury retrograde, because our minds sometimes get lost in that shuffle, in that backwash, if you will, of the faster planet moving slower than it normally moves, or at least seemingly moving slower. So when I look at the gate or the gene key that the planet Mercury is sitting at for the long term, I was really kind of astounded, because it's sitting at gate 4. And this, what did I do with my little book? Let's see how long it's actually going to sit there. It sits at gate 4 until August. Can you believe it's going to be August? I guess because I was gone for most of the month of July, to me it seems like, oh my gosh, I'm only a month away from summer being over, and I can't believe that. Until August 6th, when it moves to a different gate. So for the next couple of weeks, we're dealing with this energy of Mercury sitting around at gate 4, which is the gate. It's called the gate of mental solutions. I'm going to show you where gate 4 is sitting. It is up here on the ajna. Ooh, ajna, the second center down, right out here. And it's moving up toward the head. It meets the head, by the way, at gate 63, the gate of doubt and suspicion. And this is interesting, because if you have the gate of doubt and suspicion, now suddenly you have this energy of Mercury sitting at gate 4, you may really begin to doubt the things that you're doing, the solutions that you've found to the problems in your life, or you may start to see things falling apart a bit, and you may begin a process of panicking, doubting yourself rather than just doubting what's happening. So it'll be interesting to see how this affects you as individuals. And if anybody's having problems with doubt, then you can pretty much guess it's Mercury that's taking this stand for the next couple of weeks. Now, I think what we really get to when the juice, if you will, of this particular Mercury retrograde at this gate comes from the gene keys, where, remember, the gene keys are arranged in taking the energy of a gate and aligning it with the shadow, and then the gift, and then the siddhi, which is a Sanskrit word that just means the highest expression of. And so we get this idea then of the evolutionary energy in a gate. I don't know that I've ever quite worded it that way, but this is literally each gate in your human design is taking you through an evolution. The energy in gate 4, where Mercury will be sitting for the next couple of weeks, is the energy of intolerance at its lowest level, understanding. So intolerance evolves into understanding, and then understanding in its highest evolves into forgiveness. It's a really interesting path for Mercury to take this time. Now let's define intolerance, because I know a lot of people probably already have this idea of intolerance, meaning where we're not able to stand perhaps something that someone else is doing, a different culture, a different way of life. Maybe we're intolerant of people who are gay. Maybe we're intolerant of women if we're men, and men if we're women, or maybe we're intolerant of other races, etc. We have a lot of things that we can say that human beings have become intolerant to. So I want to give you a new definition for intolerance as it relates to human design and the gene keys, and that is this: a slanted perspective of logic, where opinions, judgments, and resentments are transmuted into convictions and certainties. So this is where the mind sees something or perceives something and makes a story out of it, right? So we take a different culture. Let's the biggest one going on right now in our world, and I've been gone, so I don't even know what this is like right now, but the idea of illegal immigration. and of immigrants coming to our country from Central America and Mexico. And our opinions or our judgments or our resentments are very much triggered by this, right? Because we think all types of things. The mind triggers us into believing they're costing our economy money, they're costing our economy jobs, they're a burden on the welfare system. They are whatever it is that we have held in our mind as an opinion, a judgment, or a resentment against immigration or illegal immigration. Now, trust me, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm really not making a value judgment here. I'm just showing you how quickly these opinions, resentments, and judgments can turn into these convictions. So then we become absolutely convinced that illegal immigrants are the source of all of this country's problems. You've seen it, right? Our president echoes this all the time. Got to build a wall. If we build a wall, then all of our problems are solved in illegal immigration. And this is a very dangerous way of thinking. This is the shadow in its highest expression, or I mean, in its lowest expression, the shadow of intolerance, where we have taken the energy of the ajna, the second center, down, and we've created certainty. That particular center is the center for certainty. People who have a defined ajna are certain that their beliefs and judgments and convictions are correct. And then if you have an open ajna, you're not so certain. And if ever you are certain, you got to know you're picking up someone else's certainty. And then the people with the open centers are the ones that become very overly certain about things, maybe even certain about the wrong things. So it's a very delicate balance that we walk when we have that center defined, but even more so if you have it open, because you're pulling in the certainty of everyone around you. So here we have this opportunity with Mercury retrograde now to take a longer look at what our minds are doing. How have we slanted our perspective? How have we slanted logic? How have we turned things into a story? And that story then becomes convictions and certainties, right? Huge, 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 huge. Now, that I just related to you what is going on in the bigger, wider world, but this can be happening in your own personal life as well. What if you became certain that you were a failure, that whatever it is, let's say, Mimi, you're an artist, and good morning, Illyria, it's good to see you out there. Let's say, or you're an astrologer, or you're a dancer, and you've gotten this story in your mind that you aren't good at it, or that you're never going to make something of yourself doing this, or maybe other people's convictions about what it means to be an artist or a dancer or whatever are affecting you, then this is what you have to look at in your own life. Where have you become intolerant? Where do you have a slanted, like if you turn your head sideways, how everything looks weird? And where have you got a slanted view of perspective, or a slanted perspective about what's going on in your own life? So wherever you have 23 to 11 degrees of Leo in your chart is where you need to take another look at what is it that you believe? What are your opinions, judgments, and resentments? And where have you turned them into these hardcore convictions and certainties? Because there is anything, the question is anything really certain? Right? And only by applying understanding and at the highest level applying forgiveness can we really transmute this energy. Can we really learn the lesson of this Mercury retrograde planted at this degree for a lengthy period of time? And I want to take a look really quickly at something here. July, today's so we're going into the eclipse. All right, this is what I wanted to get to. So when we get to August 12th, so you might want to circle this day on your calendar, August 12th, this will be the day that the sun moves into gate 4. And here's where we're going to be able to maybe make the change, if you will, or to evolve beyond this. The sun, it puts its full force on that particular gate at that time. And when it does, it puts a lot of focus and energy in it. So Mercury's playing around here right now. It is bringing it up. And because Mercury's retrograde, you may see it, but not know what to do about it. Or you may sort of not really see it, but later on, it's going to come full force to you when we get to the 12th of August. And then you're going to be looking at the energy of the Earth at gate 49, which is revolution, and in its lowest is reaction. And you're going to have to be reeling back some of those beliefs that you have, and maybe creating this revolutionary energy in your own personal life. And it may also be going on in the outer world. There's so much out there right now happening. It almost is startling. It's almost mind-bending, mind-blowing. And literally, people, as I'm explaining these things to you, I just keep thinking, wow, there's so much to try to have to remember here. Don't even try to remember it. Try to stay in this energy of allowing the flow and becoming the observer. Be the observer. Sit back and observe. Look into your life. Look into the things that are going on. And then remember some of the higher forces of these energies. Remember that intolerance is evolving into understanding, and understanding will evolve into forgiveness, right? I think a lot of us already can get to the point of understanding. We understand that the people who are trying to immigrate into the U.S., to go back to our example, are doing so because life for them sucks in their countries. Their countries are run by drug lords in some cases, or gangs, etc. And for them, life is dangerous. And they see the United States as a beacon of safety, a safe harbor, a place where they can start again and not have to live in fear. And I'm not sure of the solutions for that, but it isn't my job to do the solutions. My job is to try to move this intolerance into understanding. And from that, to be able to forgive this, to understand that forgiveness is just a suspension of judging, a suspension of the opinions, judgments, and resentments that have led to these convictions and to these certainties that are not necessarily true. Wow, right? So much that we didn't even think about is happening with this particular retrograde. And so today, if you call into the radio show, we'll be taking a look at that, because wherever that is where you're holding some certainties that aren't true, maybe, right? I'm thinking about my own chart and where that is happening, because somewhere in there is my Black Moon Lilith. I think it's at 15 degrees of Leo. And my Mars is at 22 degrees of Leo. Oh my goodness. So this for me is really big. This is a big thing. So I got to go look at my own chart and see, where am I holding these certainties? Trust me when I say I do. I don't sit here and tell you guys to do all this stuff and not work on it myself. I'm probably my own worst enemy when it comes to that, right? I am really on it, right? I go into my chart and I look at it and I work through it. So I'm not asking anybody to do anything that I wouldn't already do myself. So now I've totally lost, oh no, the lunar eclipse right here. So look at this chart. So this is the chart I had to use this morning because my normal chart that I get to use wasn't there. The site was down. So I'm not used to using a very colorful chart like this. So work with me here for a moment as I try to go through some of the biggies. We can't go through everything today, and that's why today and tomorrow we'll be working through the lunar eclipse. But I'm going to transition now to the lunar eclipse, because this is happening in a highly energetic place in your chart. And note, an eclipse is always a gateway or a portal. It is like that saying where a door closes, but a window opens, or if one door closes, another door opens. That's what eclipses do. And when we're dealing with a lunar eclipse, we're dealing with it at the full moon, which is a time of completions, a time of revelations and ahas, a time of being able to bring something to a close or to let go of something. So what we have then is sort of a jacked up ability to break free. So if we think about it in terms of breaking free, then this isn't quite so scary, right? We're breaking free of something. And in this particular eclipse, which by the way is across Leo and Aquarius, we've got the sun in Leo and the moon will be sitting at 4 degrees Aquarius. That puts it in alignment with the nodes. That's what drives an eclipse, when the sun and the earth or in the moon sort of line up in a way that is across the nodes, the nodal axis, we call it. And we've been dealing with this for a long time, right? Since I think it was last spring, not this past spring, but a year ago, this past spring, we had the first taste of what the eclipse patterns in Leo and Aquarius were bringing to us. And this is all about returning ourselves to our heart centers, to living our life from that place, from desire. It's interesting that I just started I came home, literally I had hundreds of emails to go through, and this one email jumps out at me, and it was about Oprah and Deepak Chopra doing a class, a 21-day series on the nature of desire. And yesterday was the first day, and I thought, how appropriate is this happening during the Leo Aquarius lunar eclipse and when Mercury is in Leo? And so this particular 21-day meditation program, it's free. So if you want to go look for it, it's on the Oprah and Deepak Chopra website. It's the good gracious, now that I've said that, I don't even know what site it's on, but I'll find it and post it for you guys later. It's not too late to join. And it is yesterday what I got out of it. And this is totally aside from the lunar eclipse, but I'll tell you, the first thing that jumped out at me yesterday was this idea of attraction. You know, we talk about, you know, when we're trying to create or when we are setting intentions, and this goes along with that new moon, right, where we set intentions. Attraction is only half the game. The other part is about aligning ourselves with what we want. Totally lost on me. And it's not that I didn't know that, because I did. It's not that I've never heard it, because I've heard it. But something about it yesterday really hit me. And it was that aligning in order to get what you really want. You have to align with what you want, or the universe gets this mixed signal and nothing happens, or the exact wrong thing happens. So this is when in human design, I say to people, get clear on the what. What do you want? And then you have to take that extra step of aligning yourself with it. Here was a saying by Oprah says this, but it came from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. You are what your deep driving desire is. As your desire is, so is your will. As your will is, so is your deed. Tells you right there, you got to align what you do with what you want. So how many times have we said that we want something and then we negate it by not aligning with it? I'm going to take a look at some comments right now. Illyria, haha, I just laid my head down to watch you sideways. as I was saying, look sideways. My Ajna is undefined, and truths. Yes, my Ajna is undefined as well. About 50% of you actually have an undefined or an open Ajna. The other 50% of you have a defined Ajna. It's defined if it's green, and it's open if it's white. Mimi, interesting, open head and Ajna, yet have gate 4 hanging. Me too. Feels like positive things can and will occur moving toward August 12th. Absolutely. That's kind of my feeling as well. And the best way to make sure that that occurs is to stay out of the energy of judgments and criticisms, etc. Londa, the sacred witness, becoming the witness, learning to witness from a higher truth. Oh my God, so powerful. Mimi, will hope the human design will open hearts for the positive. Yes. Asa, what should we look for again in our chart? Good. So you're looking for 23 to 11 degrees to 23 degrees of Leo in your chart. And then for the eclipse, you're looking at 4 degrees of Leo and Aquarius in your chart. So just look for Leo and look for Aquarius, and you'll get a sense of what is going on for you. And then, of course, the next thing we look at is the house that it's aligned with. In my chart, most of this should be aligned with the second house, possibly the first house. And I think the eclipse is probably going to be in my first house, and the retrograde Mercury is moving from the second house backwards into the first house and back again. So there's some real interesting interplay going on there. And let's see, good morning, Cheryl. And Londa says, you're honest and within integrity, which is called being authentic. That's why we love you, being you in the humblest way. Thank you very much. Good morning, Tom Wright. Oh my gosh, the earth must have stopped. What are you doing up so early? Mimi, the action of attraction, gotta work it. So true, Mimi, you gotta work it. I don't know. Sometimes it just feels like, doesn't it, that there's so much to remember. And yet when I look out at others, sometimes I go, God, they're just making it look so easy. So why do I struggle? And I think I struggled precisely because of my mind, right? And the mind is very powerful. And in this, then, what we're learning is to let go of the mind a bit in favor of kind of being that observer and watching what's happening in the world, using the mind in the right way, right? Using the mind in the right way. All right, let's go back to the lunar eclipse. The lunar eclipse is occurring across 4 degrees of Libra, or good God, 4 degrees of Leo and Aquarius. Who else is sitting in that spot retrograde? Mars, right? Mars has been retrograde since June 27th. He is in retrograde motion until August 27th, and it will be the moon conjunct Mars. There's an element of volatility here. And that volatility, I really want you all to understand the energy of reaction, trying to stay away from gut checking and knee jerking in reaction to the things that you see around you. Other people may not be as conscious as you about what's going on. And when we have the moon aligning with Mars, we have this possibility of volatile emotional reactions and big things happening in response to unconsciousness, right? The moon we call the moon lunar. People often, with the moon, we can relate to our lunatics. The crazies come out during the full moons, etc. We have all kinds of evidence in our verbiage about what it means to have the moon being full or being new. And now we combine that lunacy, if you will, with Mars, which is very action oriented and destructive at times. So watch for that energy of destruction, of volatility in our emotional reactions. And if you can, just stay out of reaction. Try not to react. Try to just be at peace and observe what's going on around you. The outer world is where this might take place, and not so much in your inner life. But wherever this is happening in your chart, again, is a place where things can happen. This particular full moon is also a T-square, in a T-square, with the point at the planet Uranus in Taurus. And it's interesting because the opposition in the chart, I drew up the lunar eclipse chart with Washington, D.C. as the place. And I did that because I thought that maybe it would be better to see the effects for us as a country, as opposed to just my neighborhood or your personal neighborhood. So Washington, D.C. being the seat of government for this country makes it the logical choice for me to pull the chart for. And I find that the moon, Mars, and Pluto are Pluto at 19 degrees of Capricorn and the moon and Mars in the eclipse at 4 and 3 degrees of Aquarius in the second house of money and earned income. And of course, pointing then or squaring Uranus in Taurus, which we already talked about in the fall or in the spring as we headed into that area of being impactful in terms of our economy and our money. And it makes me wonder if we start to see something in the outer world that is affecting the economy. Not necessarily challenging the economy. And is it something to do with, our president's insistence on tariffs, and how does that affect trade? And does this trade thing, this war that he's getting us into, trade war, affecting the actual bottom line of the economy. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, the T-square is always a challenge. There's a challenge going on here. At the opposite end of the T-square, the point that it comes to is where the balance point is, and that puts us in 2 degrees of Scorpio. And 2 degrees of Scorpio sits in this particular chart in the 11th house, in the 11th house of coming together, associating with one another, trying to stay out of separation. So I think it's going to be one of those things where we're going to have to, as a group, as a citizenry, put pressure on the government, if you will, to make changes, to not enact all these tariffs, to bring a little more balance. I understand, I think, on one side what he's trying to do with, enacting tariffs. He's trying to balance a trade deficit. But on the other hand, too far, too fast doesn't work because it sends everything into a tizzy. So it'll be an interesting time for us Friday during the eclipse. This occurs, by the way, at 1:20 p.m. Pacific time, 4:20 p.m. Haha, no jokes from those of you out there. 4:20 p.m. on Friday in the East. So just observe, just be observers. Don't get too deeply into this personally, but wherever this is in your chart, though, you can bet there's a gigantic gateway opening up here. And this gateway may be for you, maybe strictly about realignment with your values. And we've talked a lot about that, right? Because our values, this whole year has been about that. Values. What do you value? What do we value as people? What do we value as community? And what do we value as individuals? And aligning, here we go with that word again, aligning ourselves more and more with those things and steering clear of everybody else's business and everybody else's anyway, I think that's it for today. The one advantage I have looking at this particular program is I can see that I've been live for 46 minutes. Wow. My intention originally was 20 to 30 minutes. And so we're past that. Anyway, let me remind you then today, this afternoon, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Pacific or East Coast time, join me on Angel Heart Radio. The phone number is listed here. I will post the link again for everyone. If you would like a reading, you can call into the show and I will be able to pull your chart and give you an idea of what's going on both from Mercury retrograde and the eclipse. All right. I guess that's it for me today. I will still go back to Facebook and try to answer questions and make comments. And I wish everyone a wonderful day and take care. See you later. Mwah. Much love. Bye-bye.